Hello, and welcome to more dating sims. I know, exciting. Today we're playing c14 dating. I looked up, it's like 12 hours, which I don't know if we'll get through it. But either way, my name is Mary Roses. We're playing games. The intro song, pretty good. I hope I don't get copyright striked. Let's go. Oh, just gotta keep playing, huh? Okay. What? 1 second. Mini games are turned on. Why is it doing that? Try that. Weird. Okay. Ooh, okay. Start game. There we go. It's showing up. Okay. Is it just delayed? I don't understand. Weird. So it's showing my mouse on a different screen, but I'm on a... What? Okay. There we go. I think. Ah, is this it? I glanced at the map. That's so weird. 1 sec. Wait. Try that. I glanced at the map, which highlighted road names along with a star next to my destination. After comparing, I came to the conclusion this wasn't the place, but I was close. No? No, you're just gonna fight me? Okay, one more thing. Let's see. Try that? Maybe that'll work. It was doing it earlier. Oh! What the heck? Alright. Go off. I was oddly calm, despite being over 5,000 miles from my California home. The reality of being in another country had yet to sink in. What I also don't get is why is it not my... Okay. Is there a menu button? No. Yes? What is happening? Why is it being stupid? We're working on it. Yeah. Okay, let's try that. We're gonna get there, and then I'm gonna restart because this is stupid. At least I can see my mouse. Oh, okay, I think I fixed it. Sick. You're welcome for that bumpy start. Okay. Up ahead, there was a clearing. Yes. Separated from the road by a fence. On the other side, a few tents were stationed behind a 2-story building. I spotted an open chain gate with a billboard in front of the driveway. It said, Grotto de Caline Entrée. Just kidding, entry. That's the place. This is really cute. A familiar figure stood by the entrance. She was currently talking to a middle-aged man, but when she saw me, she gave me a cheerful wave as I ran up to her. Sherry! With one hand on my bag handle, I exchanged a half embrace with my professor. I didn't know you all had already arrived. If you'd called me, I would have come and picked you up at the train station. You mentioned that the cave wasn't far, so I wanted to soak in the scenery, enjoy the sights. I'm glad you made it safely. Was it difficult talking to the train, really? Nope. Well, I did try to practice my French at the ticket station until the person said that he could speak English. He pointed me to the right direction. At least you'll be able to brush up on your French. You'll find it's not too different from Spanish. You'll catch on quickly. I groaned inwardly. My Spanish wasn't the most fluent, but I mentioned it in my interview when discussing how I would cope with staying in Belgium without knowing French. I glanced around, then turned to Sherry. Where's Paige? Didn't she say she would be arriving earlier today, or was that tomorrow? I got an email from her yesterday saying there was a family emergency. She won't be able to participate this summer. I failed to hide my disappointment. Paige was the other student from my university who planned to attend this field school. We even worked out trips to do every weekend during our stay. I mustered up a weak smile. It's understandable. Can't be helped if it's family. Then it would just be me. Sherry gestured to the other person present to change the subject. Before I forget, let me introduce you to Professor Augustine DuPont, Chief Archaeologist of Kalin Cove. I eagerly extended my arm for a handshake. Everything I heard about Mr. DuPont was from Sherry, and she'd mentioned that he was a reverend Belgian archaeologist. It's an honor to meet you. I'm Alyssa Flores, a junior. I look forward to seeing Sherry students every summer. It's a pleasure to meet you. Mr. DuPont spoke with a heavy French accent. I can't do it, but I had no doubt comprehending him. Have you gone over everything with Sherry? When the students from Liège arrive tonight, they'll get their first lecture before dinner. Yes, I'll still attend the lecture, though. If I was going to be submerged in the language, I might as well start by hanging out with the local students. Mr. DuPont eyed my suitcase. It must have been a tiring trip. Come, we will show you around the back. Students will be spending the weekdays here. We reached the clearing, and I spotted the same tents, most clustered around their perimeter, against the bushes, and a few were closer to the building. Feel free to pick one. These are for the students who don't own their own tents or air mattresses, or couldn't bring them. The chief archaeologist gave a nod, then excused himself. He probably had other matters to attend to before the students arrived. I studied the tents next to the building and thought about my phone, which was still in the airplane mode. How's the Wi-Fi here? If you stay in that tent, you might get Wi-Fi. It doesn't extend much here in the back. If you brought a laptop, you can leave it in the laboratory. It's been done before. Everything gets locked up at night, though, for safekeeping. Fair enough. At least I can keep in touch with my parents. Once you're finished, come back to the front and we'll give you a tour. We will get to see the cave today? It's already locked, so you'll have to wait until morning. And the anticipation builds. I thanked her and started unpacking. There was already a mattress, pillow, and sleeping bag in place. It only took a few moments to settle in. Done. Grabbing a small storage bag, I zipped my tent and hurried over to the front of the building. Anyway, this is the main entrance. This'll take you to the... She opened the door, and my eyes widened when I saw the display after display. So it was a museum, and a remarkably tiny one. After one loop, I was already back to the entrance. I wanted to examine the displays more, but figured I'd have more free time later. Sherry and I ascended the stairs by the entrance. This room. It's more of a multi-purpose room. It can be used for lectures, and it's where findings are cleaned if the weather isn't suitable outside. I cradled the storage bag, wondering how to bring up the question. Fortunately, Sherry noticed. Something important in there? The extra insulin I won't be using yet. It needs to avoid extreme temperatures. Is there somewhere safe I can store it? Oh, of course. Thank you for reminding me. Feel free to use the indoor kitchen since it's restricted to staff members. Augustine has granted you access since he knows you're diabetic. She led me to the back, giving me a chance to store the insulin bottles in the fridge. And to conclude the tour, this is the lab. This is where most of the research takes place. How many students will be here? It varies. There could be as many as 40, or as few as 20. Students from Liège are required to devote at least 4 weeks working at an archaeological site, regardless of the major. Therefore, we may get a lot of music and art students, too. The other students should be arriving soon. How's the jet lag? Not bad so far. A little fatigued, but nothing else. I'm going to be up all night, aren't I? Worst case scenario, I'll give you an extra day to prepare yourself for the dig. You have reviewed the materials I've given you, right? Yes, I've looked at it. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? It's been a month since my last lecture. Okay. So this is a lot more intense than I was expecting, but it's alright. Okay. Alright, let's go. Can you remind me about the site again? I know it's famous for discovering the remains of Neanderthal dating back to 125,000 years ago. Sorry, I didn't realize there wasn't a comma. Correct. The site has established 2 Neanderthal occupants, can't fucking read, from different times. This is mainly a middle Paleologic site with sediments ranging from 300,000 years ago as to recent as 4,000 years ago. Nice. I can't wait to discover a tooth or something. If you do, it'll likely belong to a cave bear. Cave bear? Those remains found often? Yes, 99% of all fauna animal remains collected are cave bear. Even so, I'm sure that's something. Not many people could say they dug up Cave Bear. Okay. How long have you been a part of the team? Me? Huh. I started working with Augustine about 10 years ago. We go way back. That's how I established the Caelan Caves internship. Our university has developed a reputation for bringing over exceptional students. And it's just me this year? I hope to be able to live up to expectations. I'm sure you'll do fine. What's the schedule exactly? How long does the dig go till? It's ongoing until the end of August, and you'll be leaving at the end of the next month, was it? Right, on a Saturday. I know only 4 weeks are required for the field school, but I thought I'd learn more if I stayed for 8. Dates aside, breakfast is served in the morning at 7:30. Cave and lab activities go from 8 to noon, and then there's an hour for lunch. Activities resume from 1 to 5. Dinner starts at 7. On the weekends, both students and the excavation team leave for home. The cave and museum are locked up during this time. The back of the building will be accessible to you, of course. And if you prefer, you can sleep on the second floor if you don't like the idea of sleeping outside alone. Again, I'm sorry it's just you. I usually get more students than this. It's okay. I'll be okay on my own, I promise. That's all. I think I'm good for now. Great. However, if any new questions come up, feel free to ask. We heard activity outside, clearly with loud voices and footsteps on the gravel. It sounds like the students from the Liège are here. Augustine will start the lecture soon. Huh? No chance to unpack or get ready or anything like that? No, all of the students were given instructions on when to arrive. Punctuality is valued greatly here. He'll lecture now, and the students will settle in after. I'll be on my way. Some students stood, while others sat on the stone tiles in front of the building. A few leaned against their luggage, but they all formed a semicircle around Augustine. There were about 30 faces, and I wondered how the camping grounds would contain them all. They fell silent when Augustine began to speak. Although I picked up keywords such as archaeology, grotty, and sediment, much of it was lost on me. He repeated calcary a lot too. However, his gestures were vibrant, and I sensed the passion behind his voice. It got me looking forward to excavating tomorrow. Don't know why that's so hard for me. Oh, that's cool. Monday. That's really neat. Play catch, study. Socialize, nighttime, inquire. Yeah. Tuesday. Oh, it's a whole thing. Game. Socialize, play catch, study, browse, doop. Culture. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go. Like Sherry said, there was another lecture in the morning, complete with a whiteboard and Augustine demonstrating how to use a troll. It was all in French, and Sherry was kind enough to translate some key phrases, or remind me that I covered this with her before the trip. The students were divided, with one half, me included, to head for the cave, while the other group would stay behind for lab work. The walk to the cave was roughly 10 minutes, passing through a narrow path in the sloped woods. The trickier sections had cement stairs installed, along with handles to prevent slipping. When we reached an ordinary-looking shed, Augustine pulled out his keys. I realized this was the cave entrance, or at least the artificial part of it. Once you're inside, please spread out so I can explain how to wet screen. He repeated the instructions in French as we filed through one by one. There was a raised counter in the middle of plastic containers suspended on wooden supports. So, this is where the wet screening takes place. Looks like it can only fit 2 people at a time. I wonder how often it'll be used. Augustine demonstrated by lowering an empty metal sieve into a plastic container. Grabbing a hose, he mimed washing the screen and rooting through pretend dirt. As much as I tried to pay attention, the language barrier tested my focus, and my eyes started to wander. Stay focused. Come on, you can do it. I did come here to learn, didn't I? French or not, I should show I'm serious about this. He's mentioning photographs a lot. Is someone coming to take pictures? Everyone started to line up after Augustine gestured to each item, which ranged from stacks of buckets to plastic containers full of trowels and brushes. I followed and carried everything in my own bucket, including a sheet of paper encased in a plastic bag. The real entrance to the cave opened, leading to a narrow industrial catwalk suspended over the abyss. Once I walked through, the temperature dropped to a cool chill, and I zipped up my hoodie. Augustine directed students to various locations, while Sherry carefully slipped by and I followed. The cave opened up further in with numerous stalactites and stalagmites everywhere. The catwalk railing disappeared where the ladders connected, or when it branched off into the other segments of the cave. Sherry, where will I dig? Sherry leaned over the railing and pointed to one of the deeper parts. You'll be digging here. It's a 125,000-year-old layer. The very same one where they discovered the Nithandral Megalithable. Wow. What? I'll be digging to such an important place already? Despite my nerves, I felt giddy inside. Sherry climbed down the ladder, and I trailed behind her. At the bottom of the ladder was another catwalk, positioned exactly in the middle. Now that my eyes adjusted to dim light, I noticed there were strings and cords hung everywhere in a specific pattern, with notes nailed to the soil. Sherry brought me to the end of the catwalk, where there was yet another ladder, but this time much shorter. You'll be digging on the right side here. Here was a rather cozy-looking pit, a perfectly dug-out square. 2 to 3 people could probably move around freely in the space. It was almost right under the main catwalk higher up, too. This is your carrier, D32. Carry? D32? Carre means square. Everything is separated into a grid system. Starting from the entrance to the cave, the utmost left to right, it goes A1, B2, and so forth. That makes sense. It explains all the lines dangling from the ceiling, too. They're for measuring. Correct. Shall we take a closer look? The photographs for this row should be done already. I'll be right back. You can go ahead and set your items down. She retreated while I placed the bucket next to the shorter ladder. I descended, then grabbed the tools before I hopped off the last step. The layer I'd be working on was mostly dirt, with the odd large rocks sticking out here and there. It'd be easy to dig. By the time Sherry returned, I already had my knee pads out and the piece of paper next to me. Here we are, the picture of your square. She handed it to me. I could tell it was printed off the highest resolution possible, fully inked and glossy. Do we use this photograph for? First things first, we distinguish each layer and outline it on the photograph. Once Augustine or myself check it over, you can go ahead and start excavating. This picture is an irreplaceable reference, and you'll find yourself relying on it often. Please don't lose it or get it tarnished. Sadly, Augustine is short-staffed at the moment. I'll be helping the other students since most are new to this too. Is there anything you'd like to go over? When I excavate vertically, I just focus on one layer at a time, right? That's the ideal approach. However, layers aren't perfectly straight lines like in textbook diagrams. They widen and narrow, slant, and disappear completely. If you come to a situation where you have to dig through more than one layer, keep separate finches and buckets. Never mix the contents. I already feel too dumb for this game. Because once you've filled up a bucket, you'll be wet screening the material. Anything you overlooked the first time, such as a bone, will then be deposited in a cup marked with that layer name. What happens if you find something extremely important, like an entire Nithandral skull? I admit the image of suddenly pulling a complete skull out of the screening area was rather comical. Then you better hope Augustine doesn't see it. You never want to find flint or burnt bone in your terrassage, which is French for screening. Keep a careful eye out, and if you find something you're unsure of, ask me or a fellow archaeologist. I've always heard about horizontal digging, but vertical? It was Augustine's idea, stratigraphy. The study of rock layers is extremely important, and this excavation method ensures each layer is examined in great detail. It's also easier to compare the strata when you can view it as a whole. If you want to know about the cave in general or stratigraphical approaches, you can ask Hendrik when he arrives. He's the resident geologist and Augustine's nephew. Okay, what is this? I quickly glanced at the first word at the top. Fiche. Thing exactly. I know we've gone over how it's used to record finds, but I flipped it open, seeing a coordinate grid with a 0 in the lower left corner and ending in a 100 for both x and y axis. It looks complicated. That. A little bit of math will come into play. You'll be measuring where you find the remains using both x and y. Along with altitude z, x runs parallel to the entrance while y goes from front to back. Every section is divided into 100 by 100 square centimeters. Ah, yes. Forgot that we use the metric system. My mind's going to have fun adjusting to it. The grid helps, and you'll record what you find under this labeled nature. Each fiche or document has its own number already written, along with the year. You fill out the carry number and layer name and today's date. Oh, and write down the photo's number on it so there's no mix-ups. Did you get all that? That's a lot to take in, but I guess I grasped it. It's easier once you actually start, and I'll be there to help. Remember, 1 fiche per layer. Okay, I think I got it. Wonderful. I'll give you some time to get familiar with your square. If you're struggling, remember you can adjust the heat lamps. Also, the photography's contrasts have been altered to help distinguish the sedimentary layers easier. I'll be back shortly. I glanced down at the photograph before comparing it to the vertical wall in front of me. No matter how closely I look, everything was brown, 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 and more brown. How am I supposed to tell the difference of this brown layer from that brown layer? Not deterred, picking up a pencil and began marking more distinct sediments. Eventually, it became less solid brown, and I could see reds and faint yellows within the soil. I was so focused that I barely registered that I was not alone anymore. A tall student stood by the square next to mine, already engaged and identified the sediments. I paid him no heed, until I became stumped on whether I was looking at one layer or two. Quietly peering at his profile, he seemed rather familiar with the system. I guess it wouldn't hurt to ask him, or at least try to communicate. Can I get your opinion on something? Hello? Bonjour? Still no reaction. I reached out and gave him a gentle tap on the shoulder. Whoa! The touch jolted him so abruptly that I retracted my hand. He whirled around, then glared at me. Oui? Avez-vous... Shit. Avez-vous besoin de quelque chose? I really failed French really hard, so this is great. I love this for me. I'm sorry, I don't speak French. No parle non angles. He placed his photograph on the top of his square. Did you need something? Yeah, actually, I'm trying to figure out the layers, and I can't find if this is the one. I gently traced the soil, and then pretended to pinch the air to give an idea of width. Or two, it seems reddish at the top. He grabbed his trowel, giving the vibe of a serious and non-nonsense person. Once I shuffled out of the way, he examined the area I indicated. 2. This stratum is more red, as you said, but gradually disappears around here. He etched a small line to mark the ending. I blinked as I recognized the differences, then nodded gratefully. Thank you so much. I sort of figured, but I wasn't sure either. It's nice to get a second opinion. I gave him a cheerful smile. He remained impassive. He even seemed baffled when I reached out to initiate a proper handshake. I'm Melissa. I'm, the only foreign student here, if it wasn't obvious already with my language skills. Reluctantly, he switched the trowel to his left hand, and we gave a solid shake before letting go. Kyler. And that was it. With nothing else to work on from his introduction, I decided to bring up his skills. I'm guessing you're aspiring to be an archaeologist. You appear to know what you're doing. He returned to his side of the square and knelt down, grabbing his photograph. Yes, this is my 4th time here, so I'm acquainted with the subject. And you, especially since you're not from around here. Well, of course! I did come all the way from California to experience this firsthand. I also love the idea of working on such an old archaeological site. I'm surprised that they assigned me to excavate a 125,000-year layer. I looked upward. It did seem most students got the upper strata to work on instead. They tend to do that for the students who are interested in the subject. I'll do my best then. Can't waste this opportunity. Most students that excavate here picked it as an elective and aren't that interested in archaeology at all. It's nice to see that there are still a few keen students coming. Since we're excavating next to each other, that makes us square mates. Or would that be carré mates? Either way, I look forward to working alongside you. He looked confused, but simply gave a mechanical nod. He did muster up a small smile, though. Right. Likewise. Even his last words felt artificial, and I lost him to his little world of microstratigraphy. Oh boy. Big words are my favorite. I guess he values his concentration. I mentally reminded myself to bring my earbuds for next time. I had a feeling we wouldn't be making much small talk outside of excavation. The rest of the day was pretty uneventful. It was mostly a long wait for my photograph to be approved by Sherry, and then I got hit by jet lag. Despite my worries, Sherry said she would not deduct marks if I napped until dinner, although she did scold me for forgetting my journal. I scanned the tables and maneuvered to where Sherry sat. I scooted to a spot on the bench and silently started my meal. After a few bites, I poked at the pasta dejectedly and sighed. Now I really wish Prague was here. We promised to do so many things together, too. I glanced up hopefully at Sherry. I felt bad, but she was the only oasis in this unfamiliar place, and I clung to it. Not only that, aside from Kyler, none of the students greeted me or even tried to converse with me. I guess it was obvious that I didn't attend the same university. Will I fit in? Questions more to myself, but Sherry overheard. Worried. The students here can be reserved, but I'm sure there'll be a few brave ones who'd like to practice their English with you. They're probably too focused from the lectures and the tasks right now. True, I'm sure once we're all used to the routine here, I'll have more chance to mingle. I ate with gusto, feeling confident now. When I finished, Sherry glanced at my empty plate. Here, I'll take that for you. Try to get some rest. Her concern cheered me up, and I chided myself for feeling anxious when I barely arrived. I retreated to my tent as I settled down, contemplating about tomorrow. A musical tone disrupted the quiet night. It was quickly silenced, but I knew the catchy introduction theme to Ishterra anywhere. I grabbed my 3DP. No, I didn't leave my system on or anything. Was someone else playing? Might as well play some Ishterra. A little grinding will do me some good. I booted up the game, and the first notes of the theme song blared loudly. I had forgotten that my earbuds weren't hooked to the handheld. I slid the volume down, hoping it didn't startle anyone. The low spirits I felt earlier today melted away to the warm colors of the game. Aw, that's cute. Success. Fail. Ah. This is really cute. Success. Okay. Okay, I see. Dawn of the third day. That's funny. And I'm enjoying a pleasant jog early in the morning since I don't know much about Coriolis. I stuck to the familiar path between the train station and the museum. When I returned, I saw people mingling in the open canopy. That meant there was enough time to eat breakfast before the trek to the cave. I swung a leg over the bench and settled into my seat. After pouring myself some apple juice, I grabbed an orange and began peeling it. Did you have a nice jog? Startled by the unfamiliar accents, I glanced upwards, greeted by a friendly face. I did. It was a short one, though, since I don't want to risk getting lost just yet. I don't know the area well enough. The roads can be pretty windy, too. You think you're heading east and somehow ended up going north. Oh, yeah. I know the streets aren't all clearly marked. The names are mostly on buildings. Speaking of names, I'm Melissa. Pleased to meet you. I extended an arm and he accepted my handshake. Diandre Enchante. Wait, you're from around here? Sieska. It's just... Oh, there you go. Your accent is a French when you speak it in English. Did you learn it from somewhere else? I studied abroad in New Zealand for a few years and picked up the manner of speech. That makes sense. Well, it sounds lovely. It's a charming accent. Seriously? Sweetest. I was concerned I'd be hard to understand considering I'm not my first language. Glad that's not the case. I'm grateful that you took the chance. For a while, it seemed no one wanted to talk to me. Worried if I was somehow unapproachable. Not at all. Many people here are shy in the beginning, but they warm up quickly. We were actually intimidated by your presence at first. Huh? Me? We all thought you were some high school prodigy archaeologist, since you had obviously flown in from another country. Me? A prodigy? Oh, no. I'm just a regular university student working on our anthropology major. And I don't look like a high schooler. First year? No, second year. Well, I guess technically third. You? Fourth. I've sort of fallen behind on electives, so a summer one seemed the easiest. We noticed a few students getting up and bringing their dishes to the outdoor wash area. DeAndre reached into his back pocket and pulled out a phone. He glanced at the display. Speaking of which, if we'd like to pass, we should start heading out soon. Cave or lab? Right now, I'm on dishwasher duty, but I'll be working in the lab afterwards. They're still getting around to approving people's photographs, including mine. Again, thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it. It's no problem. I know what it's like to be a new country away from your folks. Once we finished breakfast, we stood up at the same time. We momentarily gazed at each other in surprise. He was much taller than I expected, near Kyler's height. Now that I think about it, most, if not all of the students here were easily a few inches taller than me or more. DeAndre hammered a fist into his palm excitedly. Oh, that was the other reason why I thought you were a high schooler student. Hey, I'm only slightly below average height at home. DeAndre grinned in amusement. When we left the canopy, I spotted a middle-aged woman frantically asking students something in French. What's going on? Helena, the receptionist here, is looking for volunteers, but it hasn't been easy. I offered to cook all week, but it's not a one-person job. I have a partner for today, but any past that. Sherry did encourage me to participate. More like, I would be marked on my helpfulness outside of archaeology, too. I could volunteer for tomorrow. Would you really? Sweet as smell. He said it again. Now I'm curious. Sweet as what? Oh, it's a Kiwi slang for awesome, fine, or cool. Anything positive. Ah, I see. Then could you let Helena know that I'll sign up for tomorrow? Sure can do. Thanks. I'm glad my photography got approved. Now I can finally start digging. So where do I start? From the top? Right. You start at the top and work your way back to 25 centimeters. Then you proceed downwards until you finish the layer. Some people prefer digging back a few centimeters, then work their way down. Either way, as long as you're making progress. For now, we have to remove the coche de la merde. Using her trowel, she etched a line near the top of the square. The dirt at the very top was hard and compact, with footprints all over it. All this is just out of context now. People have trampled on it, and it's been exposed to the air for so long that it's better just to remove it all. Coche de merde. Wait, it sounds too similar to merda, therefore. Exactly, it's a layer of crap, to phrase it mildly. Just dig back 25 centimeters and a few down. When it comes to this layer, it'll make working here much easier. You'll still need a document for this, but you don't have to worry about the details. At least it'll give me a chance to sharpen my excavating skills. I discreetly glanced in Kyler's direction. Oopsie. Well, I should save anyways. He must have been super diligent, since he had already stripped his layer away. Hesitantly, I took the bigger trowel and started scraping, amazed by the resistance. I had to apply more force to make a dent. Let me give you some tips. Oh, God. Now, before we dig, we should first remove the top layer. It's been treaded on, so its soil is now mixed and distributed. You can see how dark and compacted it is compared to the lighter, pristine sediment beneath it. Not only that, it's hard to dig through. It's all clumpy. Already testing it out? Someone's eager. Remember, you only need to remove a few centimeters worth. Try it out. Note the top row has 5 beside it. This means 5 cells must be chiseled, blocked out, in an under-raptured sequence. Since this is a 5x5 grid, you can clear the full row. Okay. Just like this? Perfect. A clean line. Make sure you don't remove too much, or you might be digging into the sediments you'd be recording. Is there a way to prevent that? I mean, I can easily distinguish these 2 layers, but I'm sure it won't always be this obvious. You can use the tip of your trowel to etch into the sediment. It helps to separate the stratigraphy, so you don't have to constantly check to make sure you haven't dug into a new layer. I'll try it here as a practice run. Okay. The etch tool on the left is a useful option. It marks the cells that not need to be chiseled with X. Try etching the 3rd row. It's great. See how there's an O besides this row? That means no cells need to be chiseled, blacked out. You can leave it as it is. It looks like the top layer ends here. I agree. Now you know how much left you need to clear away. Here I go. Yeah. That's perfect. The coche de merde has now been stripped away, revealing the pristine sediments underneath. Note how the top columns are all marked with a 2. That means each column has 2 cells that need to be filled in. Since you filled out both rows marked with 5, all the requirements have been completed. If you click check, it will tell you correctly chiseled the cells. Okay, let's try. Nice. It looks like I've completed everything. Now I feel like a real archaeologist. That's wonderful. I'll be helping the other students out, but if you're stuck, don't hesitate to ask for my assistance. If you're unsure of a row or column in the future, click on the numbers of the sides of the top. The corresponding row or column will correctly filled for you. You can use these hints several times per puzzle. The game will keep track of how many hints you still have on the left. Careful though. If your stress levels are too high, you won't get as many hints. Oh, okay. Does that make sense so far? I think so. Here, I'll show you a little more. Now that the coche de merde is gone, I can finally start digging, right? Oh, sorry. Oh well. You sound eager, but your hand is shaking. Are you feeling okay? I'm good, just a little nervous. Since this is a 120,000-year-old square, worried I might accidentally throw something of extreme value away. As long as you stay away and don't dig through the sediments carelessly, we'll use micro-stratigraphic approaches, which require high spatial control. Why don't you point out the sediments? Oh, dig a little into this one. The separation is unmistakable. Everything still looks brown to me, but here I go. This puzzle has multiple numbers in some rows and columns. It might seem a little daunting, but you can start by solving the second row. This row requires 2 sequences of 2 cells each. You can't chisel them together, or you'll have a 4 for the row instead. This means there needs to be at least one unchiseled blank cell between them. Okay. This is a 5x5 grid, so there's only one place that blank cell could be. Try chiseling the row now. There, how does it look? Perfect! The first sediment is the 2AL layer. This is alluvial disposition, so it'll be silty and easy to work through. Not many pebbles or grainy textures here. Excellent. Now let's focus on the first column. See the first one? You already filled it in with the second row. That means no adjoining cells need to be filled. You can etch the sketch around it. Now what remains? This column still requires 2 cells to be chiseled. Go ahead and finish it. Good job. See if you can complete the rest and click check whenever you think you're done. Tip: try continuing from the 4th row. You can also use hints by checking on the numbers. Okay, so 3 and 1. So boop, boop, boop. I think that's not quite right. Try again. So this one's 0, right? I think. 1 and then 2. And then 1 and 1. 1. Okay, so, yeah. I think that's right. Oh no. I feel so dumb. I don't understand. Okay, I see. What? It should be 2, and then 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 3. It should be right. What? If you give up now, I'll fail you. Oh no. We may not be able to play this game. I'm a little dumb. It looks like it should be right to me. See, it says 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2 and then 2 and then 0 and then 3 and then 1. Maybe that's what I was missing. Oh my god. Okay. I think I figured out where all the sediments are, Sherry. Agreed. Do you still have your photograph? You can fix up some of the pencil lines you put down before. Usually, you need to have your photograph approved by one of the staff members here, but since we're short-handed, I'll be overseeing the photograph submissions as well. I agree with the stratigraph. Marked it down. You can outline the pencil with the permanent marker and start digging from the top once you're done. Thanks, Sherry. Alright. Okay. We're gonna save. But I don't know if I'm gonna continue this one. Well, I'll think about it. Just because that's really hard. It's gonna get harder. I know it is. I like minigames, but I don't even know what I don't know. Okay. So, without that, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be playing Psychedelia the Black Butterfly tomorrow, and then I will be streaming. I stream tomorrow too. We're playing. Oh, sorry, we're streaming Psychedelia, and then we're gonna upload Enamor Risks. So, I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy Loving Month, either way. Whether or not I have a good time with the game, doesn't matter. See you guys later. Bye.